You're about to listen to an excerpt of Secret City Geek Lab, Orange County's best in geek news and pop culture features, broadcasting live every Sunday at 3 p.m. on 89.5 FM in Anaheim or online at ktstfmanaheim.com. This is KTSTFM. I'm Alan Ng. You listen to Secret City Geek Lab. And coming up next, we have an interview that we did last Friday, actually, with Robert Kulhan of Business Improvisations. As many of you know, I have this passion for improvisational comedy. I've been performing improv comedy since 1990. And as you know, I spent 10 years working with the group National Comedy Theater in San Diego. In fact, I'll be performing there this Saturday at 7:30 and 9:45. And then, as you know, a lot of this show came out of my group, Secret City Comic Society, as we performed in Fullerton for about 3 years until we shut down. But I love improv comedy, and the skills I learned in improv, you know, it's amazing how you can apply that to your own personal life. In this case, we were showing how you can, or we talked to Robert about mixing the two elements of improv comedy and the business world, corporate business, making business decisions, and there are a lot of themes that apply. There's creativity, there's brainstorming, there's teamwork, definitely teamwork that needs to be involved if you want your business to succeed. And these are ways in which improv comedy can be subversive and find its influence in not only the world of business, but in many fields out there, in law, medicine, and so on. So I had a chance to speak with Robert Kulhan. He is the CEO of Business Improvisations. Business Improvisations brings together the world of improvisation and the corporate business world. For the past 15 years, Business Improvisations has gone on to create corporate training programs and executive education programs for several top business schools in the U.S. and abroad. In addition, Business Improvisations specialize in creating leadership development programs and customized experiential learning programs for corporations, including many Fortune 500 companies. They are based in New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago, and they'll work with organizations nationwide and worldwide. Bob Kulhan, he's an Adjunct Professor of Business Administration at the Fuqua School of Business at Duke University, as well as an Adjunct Professor of Business for Columbia Business School at Columbia University. He's the CEO of Business Improvisations. For almost 20 years, Bob has performed and taught improvisation internationally. His teachings and performing credits include Chicago's famed Second City, where he was part of the core faculty and master artists in residence, Improv Olympic, or IO, where he was in the part of the resident company and faculty, also in Columbia College, London TheaterSports, and all over the world. And here is the interview with Robert Kulhan. I'm with Bob Kulhan, and you're the CEO of Business Improv. Now we have something in common. We both love and we both perform improv comedy. How did you get started in the world of improv?
I got started, I'll try to make the long story as short as possible. In high school, from my freshman year to my senior year, everyone would have the JV talent show, the high school talent show. And the band would get up and the cheerleaders would get up. And in between each act, the curtain would fall and it'd be dark. So my sophomore year, I went up and said, can I just fill in the time while the acts are changing in the background? And they said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'll just go out there and just do whatever I can do to make people laugh. And so I said, okay. So that led me to doing that, which led me to learning that what I was actually doing wasn't just making stuff up. It was called improv, which led me in 1991 in the summer of 91, going up to Chicago and studying with the Players Workshop at the Second City, which led me into Chicago Improv.
Fast forward to today, you've managed to combine the two worlds of improvisation and the corporate environment, so to speak. So what exactly is Business Improvisations?
Business Improv is exactly that. It's taking the tenets of improvisation, which we would naturally do comedically on an improv stage, and then breaking them down so that they can actually strengthen the skill set that business people use most.
And how did this come about? What was the idea that was the genesis behind Business Improv?
Well, my natural degree from the university is in business, rather. So I have appropriately enough a BS in business, and left the business world at a young age after winning a couple of pretty recognizable awards as a business person, to study improv full time and try to be a professional improviser. And in 1994, 1995, 1996, I proved the term professional improviser to be an oxymoron.
Yeah.
There was no real way to make money at it.
Oh, all that big improv money that's out there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, it's everywhere. In the late 90s, I had the opportunity to co-create a program for the Duke University Fuqua School of Business, and it married the business world, which I had my formal degree in, with the improv world, which was where my heart was, and certainly where I got my degree from the School of Hard Knocks. Mm-hmm. And that program just took off, and from there we taught the Duke Fuqua professors and taught in exec ed, and that just created a whole world and a whole business for us.
The group I'm with, and I see a lot of groups, they offer basically team building services for corporations and for businesses. Is what you guys do similar to that, or is it more than that?
Well, it's similar to that in so many different ways. I mean, improvisation at its root is a team-building art form. It's a communication art form. It's a creativity art form. So certainly all of those blocks, which everybody builds upon, we build upon as well. And then because of our specific, field for the past 16 years, working with top business schools, I'm an adjunct professor at the Duke Fuqua School of Business, which is currently the #1 business school in America, and I'm also an adjunct professor at Columbia Business School, which is #4 this year, and UCLA I have a great relationship with. So I have access to academia and all sorts of fields of study that complement improvisation in ways that others who aren't studying this as passionately as I am might not see. So though I'm still very much active in the theater world in Chicago, New York, and LA, my focus is not to build a brick-and-mortar institution. My focus is solely to link improv to business as my day job, and then at night I get up and make people laugh.
Cool. So how does it work? What kind of problems do businesses usually have that they would call upon your services? Or what kind of solutions are they looking for?
Well, they could be looking for anything from exactly what we just mentioned before, teamwork, camaraderie, respect, communication, and that could lead into the next elements of, creativity and creative problem solving. And that can certainly get into the much more complex things of adaptive problem solving or even crisis management. So it runs the spectrum from the hand-holding to the let's roll up our sleeves and really get down to work.
Mm-hmm. For me, like the very nature of improv itself is the concept of teamwork and working together. Taking two actors with nothing and having them work together to create something. Is that some skill that we all innately have, or is that something that really has to be taught?
I, without question, believe it's a learned skill. That said, I think some people are innately better at it than others. So just like there are some people who are more gifted athletes, just essentially crawling straight out of the womb and running and rolling and jumping, and others are much stronger academically minded or even visionary people. There are some people who are just by nature funnier, and there are some people who are much more dynamic improvisationally than other people.
Is there a difference between being funny? Oh, I forgot the other term you were using.
Reactive improvisational?
Yeah, how do you
I think so.
Bring those, how do you distinguish the two?
As a Chicago improviser, we really study the art of improvisation. It's not studied, so I studied in Chicago consistently from 94 to 2009, and then I moved to New York in 2009, where I've been living since present date here in 2015. I can highlight it this way. In Chicago, overall, the art of improvisation is studied. So much so that you're even discouraged to try to be funny. You're not trying to be clever. You're not trying to be creative. You're not trying to be funny. What you're trying to do is be a great improviser and support the people around you. In New York, there's a great school of thought, which is take the improvisation and really use it as a means to create comedy. Right. So it's really more specifically focused at heightening and creating comedy choices, comedy characters, comedy scenes, etc., comedic development. And the difference between the two really relies, and I'll go back to Chicago, it's the art of improvisation. So the art of improvisation doesn't have to be funny. You can actually be very dramatic, you can be very poignant, you can be very sincere, and if the comedy comes, it comes. And if it doesn't come, it's lends itself more to improvisational acting than just simply improvising.
Yeah, I was kind of liking it to, you go on stage and your goal really is to connect with the audience, to kind of reach out and say, hey, I'm going to show you something interesting and I'm going to show you something you can relate to, and we're going to explore that and kind of turn it on its head.
Yeah, connect with them without being pedantic.
Right.
Without saying I'm gonna spoon feed you and I'm not gonna cower to you. What I'm gonna do is do my very best, work that I can with the people around me who are all focused on the same goal to do the very best work that we can, and in doing so, we'll do exactly what you just said. We'll show you something that it's going to come in a lot of different ways, including on its ear and inside and out and backwards.
All right. And then how do you see this working within the business world then?
It works, hand in hand in the business world. Well, I mean, you have to understand we're looking at specific focuses, right? Because it's truly wonderful as improvisation is and how great as it is and how much I consider it to be a roadmap for life. That's not the way that life always runs, right? So in improv, you cling to saying yes and, for example, and unconditional support. In real life, you said you have a little girl, is that what you said?
Yes.
If your little girl wants to run in the street, you're not going to yes and her.
Right.
Right? If she wants to drink a bottle of Lysol, you're not going to unconditionally support her in this. So we, in real life, make choices that are dependent upon the situation. And in business, business people have to make choices that are dependent upon the situation, upon the goals, upon the strategy, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a right place and a right time for improvisation. And this type of organic development that we were talking about before certainly has a place in teamwork. It has a place in connection. It has a place in communication. It has a place in business.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of it in, and even like in the basic brainstorming meeting back when I was back in the business world. It's hard, one, to trust that your idea that you throw out there is not going to be judged immediately and thrown away, and two, the trust that people are going to hear you and accept what you say, and not, the need not to have to necessarily guard your thoughts and protect your ideas.
Yeah, unconditional acceptance, which we're talking about, which comes from the yes and, really lends itself to suspension of judgment, which is exactly what you're talking about, right? To create that safe environment.
Right.
So the unconditional support doesn't necessarily mean that especially every idea that somebody brings to the table is brought to fruition. It means that in the spirit of postponing or suspending judgment and clinging to yes and, you accept what somebody is saying, you value that person for saying it, you look at it objectively, you respond to it honestly, and ultimately, if everybody's doing that in that environment, then it's not your idea and mine and somebody else's idea, it's the group's idea. Right. And that creates that different level of ownership, which then lends itself to trust and support.
Right, and then even the idea of scene work, where like if I'm in a meeting, I may not have a fully realized idea, but I might have a germ of an idea, and if I throw it out there, someone else in the room could yes and it and build upon that idea, and create a fully realized solution.
Oh yeah, I mean, great scene work isn't done by one person typically; it's done by more than one improviser. So that means one person makes an initiation, somebody responds to that initiation, somebody might make another declaration in return, and then from there it's just a matter of reacting, adapting, responding to each other.
Right. And it's amazing what you can do, even throwing out your craziest ideas that will never fly and never get off the ground, can spark the inspiration for someone else, or even spark the inspiration of the group.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, and that comes from that environment that you mentioned before. When that environment's created and people are acting and reacting fearlessly with each other, then those wildly crazy ideas can easily turn into the best ideas possible. And that's also where, those serendipitous discoveries come from. It's that openness of thought. If somebody wasn't open to the idea that the chemical that I think it was Dow was creating tasted good and could become a sweetener, NutraSweet would be created,
right? Or
saccharin, one of the two of those, or Post-it notes would have been created, or champagne would have been created. They're driving toward one thing and open to something else. That can certainly exist in the same way that those great ad campaigns, eat more chicken, starts coming out from people working together at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, just being fearless.
Okay. Okay, well, great. How can someone contact you if they're interested in teaming up with Business Improv?
Well, you can certainly go to businessimprov.com or find us on Facebook as well at Business Improv or Business Improvisation, or tweet us at BizImprov, B-I-Z Improv.
Okay, and then you're in New York, where do you perform in New York?
I perform usually with the group Baby Wants Candy and at the Pit and at the New Annoyance, which is in Brooklyn, and occasionally over at UCB.
Okay.
Usually, though, it's with Baby Wants Candy, the Windy Pinday hosts, and the Annoyance Theater.
Okay, great. So this is Bob Kulhan, as CEO of Business Improv. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan. Great chatting with you.
So that was, again, Bob Kulhan. Again, you can reach, if you're interested, Business Improvisations at businessimprov.com. They're on Twitter at BIZImprov. And if you want to find more about Bob Kulhan, you can go to his website at bobkulhan.com. That's BOBKULHAN.com. Don't miss your favorite movie reviews and interviews. Subscribe to this YouTube channel and be sure to like and comment about this excerpt. Enjoy.